Hey everybody, what's going on? Today is June 15th, 2019. In this video, I'm going to be talking about the very interesting numerology surrounding the Golden Gate Bridge. The date August 11th this year, which is the second date of Tisha B'Av on the Jewish calendar. We're also going to talk about how this ties into a recent news story regarding the crash of a helicopter in New York City, and on the same date, the injury of Kevin Durant. And we're going to talk about how these stories are numerically connected, and then maybe a little bit about the theory about what this all really means. Now, if I were to have to wager on whether or not there'll be some sort of terror attack in San Francisco on August 11th, I would definitely bet against it. I might not want to drive on the bridge myself that date, but that being said, I think the coding we're seeing for August 11th this year is unlike anything I've ever really seen before. And granted, I've only been decoding for a few years, but it seems like all the major events this year have repetitive alignments to August 11th, the number 118 and 811. Again, it's really unlike anything I've ever seen, and I'm more likely to believe that this coding has something more to do with the mystical side of this, perhaps the second coming of a Christ or the original Savior for the Hebrews. I mean, that's the level of which I'm talking about. And if anything were to happen on that day, I would actually expect the internet to be unavailable because it would be such an easy event to decode. There's so much material on the internet pointing at that date and why we thought something would happen that it's almost too obvious. So again, I don't really think anything will happen on that date, but the date is definitely significant, and we'll look at why. We're going to start this video, however, by talking about the original numerology of the establishment of the Golden Gate Bridge and how it relates to the city of San Francisco and San Francisco Bay, which the bridge spans. So to kick this off, what I want to mention is that there was a song that was played at the ceremony of the bridge's opening in 1937. This song was called "There's a Silver Moon on the Golden Gate." And as far as I can tell, this song was written for the ceremony. Now, what this is referring to is an astrological term. The Golden Gate is the term for the center of the Milky Way galaxy. And the Golden Gate actually has a specific point at the ecliptic on which it sits. Now, this varies slightly over time as the solar system spins around the middle of the Milky Way galaxy. But what's important here is the number 266. The Golden Gate is currently at the 266th degree of the ecliptic. And at midnight on May 27th, 1937, the date the Golden Gate Bridge opened, the moon was sitting at the 266th degree at what is called the Golden Gate. Now, granted, this position appears differently depending on where you are in the United States, but if you're right in the middle of the country, the moon was sitting there at 266 on this date. So the song saying there's a silver moon on the Golden Gate, that's quite literal. There was a silver moon on the Golden Gate that day. When you write out the number 266 in Gematria, again, the moon at the 266th degree, notice how it sums to 102. Also 120 with the S exception. This is the same as San Francisco, California. 102 and 120 with the S exception. If you do not use the number or the word and write out 266 as a number, you get an alphabetic ordinal value of 281. This cipher seen in the top left of the screen, simply assigning a number to each letter in the alphabet relative to its position. Now here we see that 266 equals 281, and 281 is the 60th prime number. And this stands out because the Golden Gate equals 60. In reduction gematria, this method reducing each double-digit number to a single digit, also called Pythagorean gematria. And the Golden Gate Bridge spans San Francisco Bay. San Francisco Bay also with gematria of 60. Here at Wikipedia, you can find the date that San Francisco was incorporated. And there is another date, the mission date, which we'll look at towards the end of this video, but I'm very consistent in pointing out that incorporation dates are the most significant to a city's history. If you measure from the date April 15th, 1850, to the date that the Golden Gate Bridge ceremony was held, May 27th, 1937. From April 15th, 1850 to the date that the Golden Gate Bridge opened was 4,545 weeks. So here we see that San Francisco was 45 weeks old on the date the bridge opened. And this is very significant because Golden Gate in gematria, in both the standard reduction cipher and the reverse reduction cipher, Golden Gate sums to 45 and 45. Also in the alphabetic order, the word bridge equals 45. So how interesting is it that San Francisco, 4,545 weeks old when the Golden Gate Bridge opened? We'll talk about how this ties into local politicians in a little bit. Now, I commonly talk about how important the dates that local politicians took office are, especially when we're talking about things like false flag events, mass shootings, and the like. But this isn't new. This was going on way back in the day as well. The mayor of San Francisco, when the Golden Gate Bridge opened, was a man named Angelo Rossi. He was the first ever Italian-American to be the mayor of a major city. Before we talk about him, I just want to point this out. Golden Gate has this value of 90 in the alphabetic order. This is the same as the moon. The moon at the Golden Gate when the bridge opened. The number 266, the moon at the Golden Gate at 266, also has a value of 90. But notice the 207. This brings us to the mayor of San Francisco at the time, Angelo Joseph Rossi, whose name has the same gematria as 266. Notice how his name also sums to 81 in reduction. This is the same as Golden Gate Bridge, 81 in both reduction methods. And if you measure from the date he took office to the date that the bridge opened, we find he was in his 2,333rd day in office. Well, 2,333 is a prime number. That would be the 345th prime number. And check out the gematria of the Golden Gate Bridge. 345 using the reverse alphabetic order. This cipher using Z as 1, Y as 2, down to A as 26. In Hebrew gematria, the word moon has an ordinal value of 38 and a full gematria value of 218. The Golden Gate Bridge opened on May 27th, which is the date that leaves 218 days in the year. Now, if you measure to the opening ceremony from the date that the bridge was completed, you find it was exactly 38 days before. Moon equals 38 in ordinal Hebrew. Now, the 38th prime number is 163. And if you measure from the date construction began on the bridge, January 5th of 1933, you'll find that the bridge opens 1,603 days later. Soon we'll be talking about August 11th, and keep in mind that August 11th is the 223rd day of the year. And in Hebrew, the phrase for the moon equals 223. 223 synodic months in the Saros eclipse cycle. But looking again at the numerology of the bridge's opening, May 27th, 1937 had numerology of 88 and 52, this being the full numerology and the life lesson number. Well, it's interesting because this is the Gematria of California, 88 in the alphabetic order, 52 in reduction. California also summing to 219, of course, this year's interesting August 11th date in the year 2019. Construction on the bridge lasted 52 months, just like California 52 opened on a date with 52 numerology. And then check out the Gematria of Golden Gate. In Jewish Gematria, this sums to 239, which is the 52nd prime number. Also measuring from the date construction began to the date of the opening ceremony, we also get 229 weeks. 229, also a prime number. 229, the 50th prime number, and 50 is the ordinal value of San Francisco. Okay, so there's a lot that we talked about there, but the intent here was to establish that the Golden Gate Bridge was 100% opened by the numbers, both through an astrological riddle, a riddle of the Gregorian calendar, and the numerology of San Francisco and San Francisco Bay itself. So now we're going to talk about this recent news story of a helicopter pilot who died in a crash on top of a building in New York City this past week. This happened the same date that Kevin Durant got hurt. And of course, Kevin Durant has the jersey, it says Golden State Warriors playing in San Francisco, Oakland area. And of course, they have the Golden Gate Bridge on their jersey, their alternate jersey. So this is all very significant into what we'll be talking about here. And forgive me in advance if I do jump around a little bit. I'm looking at two posts, and I'm going to be covering things from both of these posts. I guess to begin with, I want to talk about how the current politicians in San Francisco have numeric alignments that tie into Golden Gate and Bridge. So first, let's look at the current mayor of San Francisco. Her name is London Breed, which is a pretty strange name. And, of course, it's impossible to ignore the similarities here between London Breed and London Bridge. Of course, we're all familiar with the nursery rhyme, London Bridge is falling down. Well, look at London Breed's birthday, August 11th. Of the year 74. Of course, London equals 74 in Gematria. Also see how London equals 88. And this was the date numerology of the Golden Gate Bridge opening. California equaling 88 in Gematria. So that means that this year, on the date August 11th, London Breed will be exactly 45 years old. And like I pointed out, San Francisco was 4,545 weeks old when the Golden Gate Bridge opened. Golden Gate, 45, Bridge, 45. And the mayor will be 45 on that date. And she's the 45th mayor. And honestly, guys, this is the reason I really don't believe anything will happen in San Francisco on that date, because this decode is way too easy. You know, when things actually happen and I go in after the fact and decode these events, it's usually a little more hidden. You don't see direct relations like this for a certain date. You just don't. So this is the mayor of San Francisco. Now, I want to point out how Bridge has numeric values of 36 in both reduction ciphers. 36 full reduction, 36 reverse. This brings us to the governor of California, Gavin Newsom, who was just sworn in January. On the date August 11th this year, Gavin Newsom will be a span of 306 days after his birthday. And of course, that could be a coincidence, but also consider that he was sworn in on January 7th. And if you measure from January 7th, you get 30 weeks and 6 days. So he has two alignments with the number 36 on August 11th. Bridge, 36 in two ciphers. One thing I also want to point out regarding London Breed, we mentioned that she'll be 45 years old. Well, 45 years is also 540 months. And I always thought it was interesting that in Gematria, 45 equals 45 and 54. 54 equals 45 and 54, right? So when she turns 45, Golden Gate 45, she'll be 540 months old, and London Breed equals 54 in both reduction methods. It just ties in so perfectly. Also, in regards to these 54s, look at the date August 11th. In reduction, August 11th equals 54. In ordinal, August 11th equals 180. Golden Gate equals 180 in reverse. Something I forgot to mention earlier is that San Francisco, California equals 210 alphabetic order. This is the same as the English extended value of the word moon. Extended gematria based on Hebrew gematria, Greek isopsephy, large number ciphers. Moon giving us 210 there. So let's talk about this story in which the New York helicopter pilot was killed. Now, I did a video on that story, but at the time, his name hadn't been released. Now we see that his name is Tim McCormack. And what I noticed is that Tim McCormack has the same gematria in all four base methods as the city of San Francisco. And on the same date he died, Kevin Durant, who has the Golden Gate Bridge on his jersey, got injured. By the way, the name McCormack also giving us a 210 in Jewish gematria, which, as we just mentioned, is the full value of San Francisco, California, 210. So he has many alignments to San Francisco, not just the one. Now, I believe this whole ritual of Kevin Durant getting injured was related to the death of San Francisco Mayor Ed Lee, who died on December 12th of 2017. You may recall this. Ed Lee, San Francisco mayor, dying while in office. He was the 43rd mayor. London Breed, now the 45th mayor. Well, check this out. In Gematria, San Francisco equals 1212, just like how Ed Lee died on the date December 12th, 1212. The name Kevin Durant, using triangular numbers, also sums to 1212. And really, the numeric alignments here are incredible. Kevin Durant equals 139 and 49. Edwin Lee equals 139. Mayor Ed Lee equals 49. San Francisco Mayor Ed Lee equals 225, just like Kevin Durant's full name, Kevin Wayne Durant, 225. Also, Ed Lee giving us a 39 in Jewish. Durant, 39 reverse. So these two men are super connected. And would you believe that if you measure from the date December 12th, 2017, when Ed Lee died, to the date of the Kevin Durant injury, you get exactly 1 year, 180 days. So not only do we have a 180 here, which is the gematria of both August 11th and Golden Gate, but we also have a 118. And the date August 11th can be written 11/8. You'll also find that if you measure from the death of Ed Lee to the death of this injury, it was exactly a span of 78 weeks. The name Durant equals 78 in ordinal. 78, also the gematria of helicopter pilot, and that helicopter pilot died on the same day. Also notice how helicopter pilot equals 84, just like Durant, 84. And Durant injured this game and then re-aggravated his right calf. Right calf equals 84. By the way, Edwin Ma Lee, this mayor's full name, he has matching gematria with August 11th in reverse. See how Edwin Ma Lee equals 198? Also the 254 values. August 11th, 198 and 54. So as far as why Kevin Durant is being used for this entire thing, in English gematria, August 11th has this value of 1611. Kevin Durant was born on September 29th of 1988. So that means he was born in 88, which is a significant number for the Golden Gate Bridge, which, remember, opened on a date with 88 numerology. On August 11th this year, he will be in his 1,611th week since birth. August 11th equals 1611. August 11th also equals 1481. And 1481 is a prime number. See how it's the 234th prime number? And what did he injure? He injured his right calf, which equals 234. This stuff's incredible. And I just want to be clear about this. Now, during the game, because remember, Durant entered the game with a right calf injury. He had a right calf strain that he suffered 33 days later, or earlier. And then he hurt his Achilles, which equals 33. Remember, his original injury fell 3 months and 3 days before August 11th, and then 33 days later, he hurt his Achilles, which equals 33. Now, there's actually video of the injury, and a lot of people have called this a fake injury, which I totally thought it was. I just want to challenge it. I mean, I'm no doctor, but someone would have to explain to me how this is fake. I find this really, really interesting. You know, we see him plant, and then it looks like his muscle pops. So for everyone who's calling this a fake injury, I just want to say, you know, how is that fake? That doesn't look like a natural muscle movement. And again, I'm no doctor. I'm no genius. I don't know what this is exactly showing us, but it doesn't look normal. So it's possible that there's something a little deeper going on, but that's for the viewer to speculate, I suppose. And to me, that looks like a right calf injury, but again, it was his Achilles. So whether or not this is all coincidental, I mean, also consider that right calf injury on June 10th also fell 62 days or 8 weeks, 6 days before August 11th. Right equals 62. Calf equals 86. But then again, Achilles injury also equals 86. So it's pretty interesting stuff. I definitely think this is related to Ed Lee, the death of the San Francisco mayor, whatever's going on August 11th this year. It all ties in. Here's one more interesting thing, and there's going to be a few more interesting things, but here's one of them. I want to look at the Gematria of Golden Gate Bridge. It has this value of 346. And something I've been pointing a little more attention to lately, and I only try to do this with really big numbers, because I do think there is some significance to this Kabbalistic rule of Kollel, which states that Gematria values, one apart from one another, can still be seen as the same. And I just want to point out, Golden Gate Bridge summing to 346 is really close to the Gematria of 13, which is 347. And we talked about how the moon is so incredibly significant to the opening of the Golden Gate Bridge. The moon was sitting at the Golden Gate when it opened. You know, 13 lunar phases a year. The moon begins with the 13th letter, ends with the 13th letter in reverse. 13 equals 99, just like the moon. 99. Well, Mayor London Breed, notice how she took office on July 11th last year. That means on the date August 11th this year, she'll have been in office for exactly 13 months. The opening of the Golden Gate Bridge was certainly related to the number 13. If you measure from the opening of the bridge to the next total solar eclipse, it would have been a span of 13 days. And it was also a span of 1 year and 3 days before the total eclipse after that. This year, August 11th, falls exactly a span of 103 weeks after the Great American Total Eclipse. Now, if you measure from the Golden Gate Bridge's opening to the most recent total eclipse of the sun, you find it was 11 months and 8 days. And again, August 11th written 118. Something else that's also really interesting that people should understand is that measuring from the date April 15th, which is the incorporation date of the city of San Francisco, to the date 11/8 or August 11th is 118 days. Also, this year, August 11th falls 1 year and 18 weeks before the next total solar eclipse. The number 811 is also a prime number. That would be the 141st prime number. And in Gematria, San Francisco, California equals 141. I guess that pretty much does it for these posts. If there's anything else that I'd want to mention, the date August 11th, 2019, if you write this out, and I don't know if this is even really significant, but I do find it interesting that it sums to 3270 in Jewish Gematria, because on the date August 11th, the Golden Gate Bridge will have been opened for 30,027 days. Could be a total coincidence, could mean nothing. San Francisco will also be 3 months and 27 days after its incorporation date. So this 118 days here also 327. Now, it's impossible for me to talk about all of the alignments with 811. What I didn't even mention during this is how David Ortiz was recently shot. David Ortiz's full name sums to 118 in single reduction, and his name sums to 1811 in Jewish Gematria. And look at his birthday, November 18th, or 1811. And on the date that he was shot, the president of the Dominican Republic, which is where he was shot, Danilo Medina, was exactly 811 months old. So, as I said, it seems like everything under the sun is being coded to August 11th this year. And what does it all mean? I don't really know, but I would lean towards it meaning something a little more mystical, perhaps. Something really deep than just a false flag or something like that occurring in San Francisco, because it's just too obvious. One other thing I didn't mention during the video that I think is really important. On the same night that Kevin Durant got injured with the Golden Gate Bridge on his jersey, we had the release of this E3 trailer for the video game Marvel's Avengers. And in that trailer, the Golden Gate Bridge was getting destroyed. And, I didn't see the entire movie, but I did look through the synopsis, and the Golden Gate Bridge was not a part of that movie as far as I know. So it's interesting that in the game version of the film, the bridge is getting destroyed, and this trailer comes out the same time that Kevin Durant is getting injured. And this whole thing is about the Golden Gate Bridge. I mean, this entire video basically takes place on the bridge. So they're definitely telling us something. And is it to get out of San Francisco? Is it just that, we're getting the next coming of the Messiah or something? It's all pretty interesting. Well, maybe this is true. John Jacob just said that it's actually the Bay Bridge's east span on the Warriors' New Jersey. And is that true? I would feel kind of silly. So let's say Golden State Warriors alternate jersey. And honestly, this would make more sense if it was the Bay Bridge, because it's the Bay Bridge that actually goes between Oakland and San Francisco. I wonder if this alternate jersey, someone needs to enlighten me on this. Is this alternate jersey here the Golden Gate Bridge? And then the one that Durant was wearing, was that the Bay Bridge? I mean, this one says the Bay. So this one would make me think it's the Bay Bridge. Sorry, guys. I'm just trying to learn on my own here and try and figure out which bridge is which on these jerseys. This kind of looks like the Bay Bridge. Well, even if I'm wrong and that it is the Bay Bridge on the jersey, which it looks like it might be, I think the symbolism is still relatively easy to see. Another thing I want to point out, which I forgot, is this fact, right? So check out how Kevin Durant has number 35, and next to him here is Serge Ibaka, the guy that he was trying to avoid when he got injured, and he's wearing number 9. So here we have the number 359. Well, when Kevin Durant was leaving the game, he went back to the locker room with Andre Iguodala. See here, Andre Iguodala walking with him. And this stands out because Andre Iguodala also wears number 9. So we were essentially given two images, 35-9 and then 35-9, right? Well, in Gematria, August 11th equals 359 in our Frank Baconis cipher, which simply uses capital letters and the alphabetic order. I don't know. Is that a coincidence? I would say no. But, you know, he stood next to number 9 on both players for photographs. What are the odds? I agree, Suzanne. I think they both look like the Bay Bridge on their jerseys. So, yeah, you know, you guys get the point. Someone mentioning the DC sniper hoax. I definitely believe that was a hoax. I never did a post or anything on that, but I did look at the numbers and stuff and the name of the shooter and whatnot, and it totally did look like a hoax, 100%. Oh, here's another thing I wanted to point out about Kevin Durant. We mentioned how he was born on September 29th of 88, meaning that on August 11th this year, he'll be 1,610 weeks old. So you can say he was in his 1,611th week, like August 11th, 1611, right? But this is also 161. And 1.61 are the first 3 digits of the golden ratio. And this guy's a player for Golden State. That's definitely relevant here because phi and the golden ratio are commonly attributed in major numeric rituals. So that could be part of it too. Just didn't want to leave that out. But I think that's pretty much all I have. As I said, there's no way I could cover all the numerology surrounding August 11th this year because it's just been coded all year. I do not have a Gabo count, sorry. All right, guys. I think that'll do it for this video. Thanks for popping in and watching me go through this a second time. Tried to do this live stream a couple days ago. YouTube was having some outages, and I wasn't able to live stream, but good to see I'm back and able to do so as this is an ability I like to have. I found that I do much better recording videos live. If I'm not live when I make these things, I constantly misspeak and restart, and it's just a disaster. So live's the way to go for me. Just hit the button and go. You know what I mean? It's the best way to do it. All right, everyone. I'm going to go enjoy the coming rain here. This should be a good little storm for us up here in Milwaukee. For everyone who's tuning in this weekend, whether you're watching live or archived, your viewership is also always appreciated. Do feel free to like, share, and subscribe. Hit that notification button in case YouTube tries to gyp you out of getting the alerts to my videos. My channel's growing, but at an incredibly slow pace. I'm losing subscribers every day. Some of my videos have recently been deleted. You guys know the drill. The elite don't want the truth out there, and they're trying to sequester it to the smallest corner of the internet they can. So it's on you guys to share this type of work with those you may know who have open eyes as well to see the mass distraction that's going on in this nation. All right, guys, remember, if you smash the like button, do so an odd number of times. All right, everyone, appreciate it. Peace, love, and God bless. See ya!